The patriarch who was given birth by the matriarch, and yet what made everything we know today has been male dominated. What the benefits of drawing attention to what was built brings is simply this. The power dynamics has been the competition that's always going to overshadow the open conversations to see more slash new perspectives and their tunnel vision. Now when we get to the handsome pretty boy side of things, so to understand what's being described here, it's already established that with the beasts who created the beast, this has played into the female gaze, which doesn't get talked about enough when you really think about it. When portraying a character that's meant to have a hero, superhero build, or basically the workout build, is expected to have the lady swoon for the athletics and strength. Sports can be a major part of that aspect as well. Through the music, where love songs are out there plenty. Dance is once again the form of expression without words being said. The thing is, amongst every profession that points this out, he's aware of the territory that he walked into. Well, for now. He's the look that could even become bigger than himself. Is it too bold to say that? Because to model the very trends of many brands and the conveyor belt products to roll out to the public, the selling point is to attract more customers and, I dare say, arouse the minds of female desires. You know what? Even for him to have a female companion, being in front of the camera at all times to hype up speculations and relationships on the rise, but even fueling the downfalls and debates that tend to steer from the hopeful to hopeless and the heavily opinionated approaches. So, does he fall into that category? It usually depends on the situation. For him to be a part of the wider noise, that has been the trigger word for the guys. Misogyny. He sees any and every opportunity to be at the center of providing the fantasy, thinking he could get away with anything. Once there's the peek behind the curtains of the consummated that the public sees, the info gets out and the mess exposes the truth that feels like a betrayal to the ideals. Instead of knowing the blurs of reality, the fantasy was to retreat for the audience's headcanon of black and white. From the infidelities to the good, nice guy narrative, the prepared inclusion speech, to the enhanced performances and other factors trying to use looks and status as a blanket safety net to soften the blow towards everything he invested into. Otherwise, he'd be a hollow shell of a man with literally nothing to lose. That'll make him even more dangerous. So at this point in time, sex is the common culprit due to the words and actions of his mentality and the overall business. Abuse and sexual harassment almost seem like playful banter, antics to him. If his advances are rejected, he would be a huge problem to deal with. Ego takes over because he's used to female fans begging for his attention. Speaking of which, gotta make a mention of this. When they be fixated on that dude, they'll want to ship themselves with him. That's barely low-key now. To let their wild thoughts run loose or want to be a part of the loop inside the life of his family and his crew to soon investigate for the proof. Meanwhile, girl-on-girl action's the dream team for the threesome. Guy on guy's the refusal as tension creeps up on the eventual. Two guys and one girl is the discussion of mutual lost love or just lust getting a hold on his preferences while allegedly moving in on securing his next position. Trying to keep his other activities under wraps, hoping to keep the public distracted with his accomplishments to stay attached, rise up in the ranks like he's the key to success. surrounding himself with yes men that won't say no. They ain't gonna question him, and they'll sing his praises. So back to the grind of trying to avoid or appease the fandom when they arrive. Remember how there could be the obsessed kind? Well, there can be grown. There can be younger. Wild thoughts can be taken even further. So here's his dilemma as he's trying to direct his focus elsewhere. And so, what's really going to be the role play in this role play he's portraying? He's obliging to the requests, giving them more reason to want to follow him, ready to again ship themselves with him, or wanting to ship him a partner they want to see him with, or have to say the thing that made him famous, or wanting to be on stage with him, or wanting to be in a video, or wanting to have sentences of exchanges with him, or wanting to sneak away to have the promise of lavish trips with him, just wanting him to be the hero, to be the knight in shining armor, to be the man of their dreams. And so, with all the catering to him, he wants satisfaction. Even for guys who don't have the looks, but have the status to back up what they lack, right? So, the producers, executive producers, directors, writers, politicians, photographers, podcasters, voice actors, it's so much going on in front of the lens. What goes on behind them, results may vary. What appeals to the nature of the lifestyle, if he can get a crowd lifted on what they want to hear, what they want to see, they're just thirsty to be in his presence, to be a part of his circle. He knows now that if he can be worshipped as if he were to discover fire, then he'll be the puppet master. Soon as the female co-workers come in, he's seen as the superior. They're looking to get a piece, to be shown respect in the field. He can lure them in with his charm. He could bait them with his assurance, reassurance, any way that he could get them to trust him in the line of any business, nothing personal, right? They want to be shown the ropes. They want to see how they can step up, hoping to sit at the table with the big boys before they venture off to have their own. So when he promotes, he's offering his own version of the suggestive positions to secure her a higher spot. Of course, there's the parties, the vacations, and the financial gains that he reeled her in with. So as he tries to slide into home base, he's the one actually getting curbed. The dog who lost his bone, going back to square one. But being outed means the loss of his reputation, and so he resorts to lies. It's those kinds of lies that allows him to bend the story in the eyes of the media in his favor, that his will be done, like he's calling himself God. But it's also those kinds of lies that makes the power of word of mouth raise the stakes on the scrutiny of his perception as it dilutes his brand. When women speak out about the transgressions that went down, now he ain't gonna be looked at the same way again. Yeah, there's gonna be the defenders and the suck-ups, but still, it's polarizing nonetheless. So he's the controversial figure, while he benefits from making figures till he ain't. The phone calls and messages, the leaked, recovered footage, the people who were closest speaking out against him, whether they knew about his facade or not. Any allegations, any accusations, incidents, domestic and or murder cases that's been inspected, analyzed, observed, and examined. He's only ever innocent till proven guilty, and if or when guilty, he'll be studied. Where was he physically? Where was he mentally? Why was he even drawn to the worst of preying on his victims while trying to make himself out to be the victim? As if he doesn't know that he could become as much of a predator as the rest, just as he was describing himself in a tell-all interview that's been documented as more proof of evidence making light of his brutal intentions. Yet, what we also don't talk about enough is him on the receiving end. We've known about the victimizing of others, so what about the victimized? Just feeling violated, that ain't only in real life, but even online as well, where the headline circus has been the bane of his existence. Where's connectivity? The answer is, it's slowly absent while he still hopes to reach out to the rare that gives a damn. This is also the process of discussing what it's like to be considered that desired symbol, to be the it guy, the guy, the next big thing, and how he didn't see himself that way in the first place. Which isn't the usual response, although interesting to get into further than expected. Exception to the rule. How about the fact that females have played the role of the lure and beta, being drugged, being mutilated, or even being falsely called out for sexually insinuated advances when they've been the aggressor? Oh, how the tables have turned. So, remember the first line of this? What it means is that gender bias on males has been generations. And right now, he sees that point of view very differently. Because living up to expectations that could drive him insane, so veering off that path would be jarring to the masters that brought him in. Too much to carry that responsibility on his shoulders, hoping to meet the approval, and it still ain't good. It ain't good enough to meet their standards for mere gratification. But what happens when he gone? Due to an overdose of self-medicated harm, trying to drown out the pain of his misery. From being household name to being a has-been. Then all of a sudden, people care about the man's life while realizing they took advantage of him while he was alive. That's the thing. Because all I ever really wanted to see is him genuinely express how his life makes him the man that he is. Truly set an example of how grown men and young men can see each other not as rivals, but as brothers to lift each other up and really do support each other's hardships. Suffering amongst the good shouldn't be celebrated and should have been eliminated. Fatherhood and the streets was already written. But if he can make it out of the circumstances of crabs in a barrel or privileged upbringings to go out into the world and give back when he comes home without getting robbed of his life, try to understand women, actually understand women, it's his honest vulnerability that is his power of will to really live.